followers of truth. Light of God. These two declarations are not in opposition. To realize that you are the light of God is to become a follower of truth, an acceptor of truth. It is the interim identity. It is the interim space that is necessary to realize that you are the light of God and all that goes with that, everything of truth that is reality is what you are. There's not one thing of reality that is not yours, not the truth of you. Everything that God is, you are. So how do you move from being the follower of truth to the light of God? How do you make that leap? Everything is the learning of truth, the learning is a gift that has come to you in this lifetime because in past lifetimes you learned enough that you could consciously move into the surrender into truth. For many, the journey within this lifetime of learning truth, of becoming the follower of truth, sometimes is seen as a new identity, a better identity, a special identity, almost like belonging to a club. And if you never belonged to a club growing up, or you were afraid of clubs, then maybe joining this club is going to fulfill that sense of belonging. And that can be there. But it isn't the true purpose. The true purpose of being the follower of truth is that there is enough recognition within you that you cannot abide any longer in a growing awareness that this is not who you are, that what you have identified yourself as being in this world, there is something within you that knows that what you settled for was a falsehood, a false identity. And most beloveds who enter into that awareness search. They search for the vibration that fits with their opportunity of healing. So many beloveds have had many teachers, have had contact with many masters, have studied the teachings of many masters. Sometimes The teacher appears that stays with them for the whole lifetime. Some are called to make a switch at some time. None of it has any rules to follow that you can count on. The rules that you've made in the world, you probably believed were very valid. But then as you enter into the spiritual journey, you find that the rules that you made in the world were bluntly insane. They were made out of fear and desperation and trying to control, and all the rules were made to fit that relationship with fear. Then all the rules that you made are being called to be let go, to be surrendered, because they don't carry truth. And that's where the resistance becomes dominant. The resistance to surrender. And sometimes you feel possibly more insane because nothing makes sense anymore. But you start to have glimpses of a deeper truth. You start to breathe in a different way. And a new relationship opens. The relationship with the divine. Sometimes that relationship comes through the teacher, the master. Sometimes it's a combination of seen and unseen teachers. But a resistance can come up there also. And yet, every lifetime that you have lived, in all the different costumes that you wore, in all the different beliefs that you carried, all have been for this purpose, to remember the truth of who you are and to return home. Even though you're not even sure what home means, but it pulls. So in this moment of recognizing your purpose, it's learning prayer, it's learning to open to contemplation, to recognizing mistakes and not bringing them with condemnation. Learning to love. And then the ego would say, I know how to love. But the deeper you go into the truth of love, the more you realize that everything that you called love had no resemblance to love at all. Because the temporary world has no love. It lives in fear. It lives in the fear of death. Embrace the yes that your spirit calls you to. Embrace the willingness in every moment, because it is your lifeline to truth. Embrace everything that is offered. And rejoice in the gratitude that you are so blessed to receive exactly what is most helpful in the moment in your remembering. There are no mistakes in God. There are no games that God plays. And there are no promises that are made that are then taken back. You are promised the true life of love. It will not be taken from you. Everything in the truth of love wants your remembering for you. The loyalty to truth is your friend. Embrace it as deeply as possible. And in this moment, accept the unknown that continues to reveal itself to you. If it was already known, it would be made up. The unknown can be totally trusted because it is the grace of God. Breathing in this moment, affirming that only love is real. Breathing in this moment, accepting you cannot be hurt. You cannot be without, no matter what your mind shows you, no matter what your mind makes out of its circumstance. The not knowing is the gift of transformation. The only purpose of not knowing is because the knowing of the ego is so vicious and so insistent on being in charge that it sneaks in all the time and comes up with plausible explanations for all kinds of things that mean nothing. And that's the grace of recognition, that when you are really able to recognize this is not love speaking, this is an old, familiar spiritual ego of knowing. Embrace humility. It is your friend, and it has nothing to do with humiliation. It is a place of deep reverence that can acknowledge my master leads me, my master teaches me, my master holds me in love, my master is the universe of all creation. Humbly accepting only love is real. Again, these hymns, these love songs, open doors and windows all the time. That's their purpose. They wait until they're called to service and they completely serve the opening of the heart and the healing of the mind. When hymns are sung from the heart, they have the power to transform everything. They were sent by divine beings. They have no worldly connection other than the service of love. They come for the vibration that is necessary and that can help whoever is willing to accept it. Oh, my Father, give me strength, give me courage on this road, to be a child of yours on earth and tread the path the Master showed. Oh, my Mother, help me love, give me comfort to be aware, to obey these sacred teachings. It was your Son who showed the way. Oh, my Master, your compassion can see through this pain, for it was you who came to earth to release us from these chains. Oh, my Father, I am yours. Give me comfort to be aware. Send your angels here to guide me on this sacred path of the sun. Oh, my Father and my Mother, who rule the world of love, send your angels to receive me through the gateway of pure love. Give me strength, give me courage, give me the ability to choose love every moment. Let me begin again and again and again. As I stumble, as I fall, show me the way. Let this be your prayer. As I stumble, as I fall, the words are not the words of the entitled. The words are not the words of the ego of knowing. As I stumble, as I fall, it's a recognition of the help that you need to walk the way of love, because you've forgotten, of course, as everyone has. There is nothing honorable in pretending that you know. There's nothing honorable in pretending that you figured something out on your own. There's nothing honorable in coming up with your own plan. You can't come up with your own plan. It's not possible. The whole idea that your ego could come up with a plan puts you right back where you've always been. And yet your guides, your teachers, the masters that were sent to you know the way and will show you the way. It's not a a lessening of your identity that says, please show me the way. It's the brilliance of your heart that says, please show me the way. Elevate my mind to God in the highest. Let me give my mind to God, and let me recognize the brilliance of the light of God that is here for me to see. The brilliance of the firmament is available to all beloveds as you open your heart and allow your mind to be invigorated with truth. We are here to sing because this is what we are asked to do, to sing the praises of truth, of love, of light, and to praise all of the divine beings that are sent to help every beloved. We are here in the name of love. Elevei o pensamento a Deus lá nas alturas para reconhecer o brilho da formosura, o brilho da formosura e uma luz de alento que limpa meu coração. Revigora meu pensamento. Aqui eu vou contando que a minha lida reza, viva Rei Juramidão e a rainha da floresta. Elevate my thinking, elevate my mind. When I first heard these words, it seemed like an impossibility to elevate my mind. How would I elevate my mind when my mind was grasping all the time, looking for evidence of separation and pain? And yet, over and over again, elevate my mind. And slowly my mind was elevated through my asking, my praying. Take my mind, use my mind only for love. Open my heart. These are demands, but they're demands that are wrapped in old pain, in old beliefs of separation and aloneness. And all of the demands, elevate my mind, are heard. And immediately the divine becomes the divine physician and heals everything that you want to have healed, that is in the way of your remembering love. Elevate my mind. Let me see the brilliance of the firmament. Let me see the brilliance of the light that is here. I'm willing. Nothing can be kept from anyone who is willing to find the truth in the truth of love. I know the way you can get. I know the way that you can get when you have not had a drink of love. Your face hardens and your sweet muscles cramp, and children become concerned about a strange look that appears in your eyes, which even begins to worry your own mirror and your own nose. Squirrels and birds sense your sadness and call an important conference in a tall tree. They decide that secret code to chant to help your mind and soul, and they begin to sing to you. Even angels fear that brand of madness that arrays itself against the world, that throws sharp stones and spears into the innocent and into oneself. Oh, I know the way you can get if you have not been drinking love. You might rip apart every sentence your friends and teachers say, looking for hidden clauses. You might weigh every word on a scale like a dead fish. You might pull out a ruler to measure from every angle in your darkness the beautiful dimension of the heart you once trusted. I know the way you can get if you have not had a drink from love's hands. That is why all the great ones speak of the vital need to keep remembering God. So you will come to know and see him as being so playful and just wanting to help. This is why the masters say, bring your cup near me, for I am a sweet old vagabond with an infinite leaking barrel of light and laughter and truth that the beloved has tied to my back. Dear one, indeed, please bring your heart near me, for all I care about is quenching your thirst for freedom. All a sane man can ever care about is giving love. When you have not had a drink of love, every beloved finds their teachings and their teachers. But the funniest thing happens for most in that relationship. For so many, it's a place of battle. The teaching becomes the threat. The ego becomes dominant and resistant and doesn't want the truth. So it becomes a battle. How can it not be a battle? Well, it has to be. Many times it stops being a battle because of things that occur that seem beyond the pale. Does it have to be that way? No. But because of the ego, it seems to be that the more you perceive a crisis, the more someone will scramble to the deeper truth. It's not the easiest way. The easy way that love calls you to is the recognition of the yes, of why you chose, or the teacher chose you, or you chose the teacher. The role of the teacher is a blessing, but it is not a revered place. There is some reverence to it, but when I was given my teacher, I had several teachers, but the one that took me the deepest, stayed with me all the way to awakening, was the one that I was the most fearful of. But it becomes, that relationship becomes an integral part of the healing itself. So much so that everything gets projected onto the teacher, onto the master. Every rebellion, every fear that of every authority figure, Every idea of I do it myself, I know what I'm doing, all of that gets projected. It isn't a painful place for the teacher. It is an understanding. But what gets seen is how difficult everybody makes it for themselves, or almost everybody, not everybody. How much turmoil has to seem to go into the relationship in order to placate the ego of thinking that you're actually in charge. There is not a master, there is not an awakened teacher that revels of being in charge. It is the ego that fights to be in charge. So the master must wait, the teacher must wait with an incredible blessing of patience, because the trust is so profoundly all encompassing that every beloved will find their way. If they choose to make it difficult, that is something they have to learn and see for what it is. Every master, every teacher is so dedicated, so purposefully devoted to every beloved, that when there is resistance, it's like the script was altered. And the beloved who changed the script didn't read the real script, didn't see the real script, that this was your gift from God. What happens in healing and what the teacher is for is that every teacher that has walked into awakening has lived everything that everyone has lived, has squeezed through the eye of the needle, has unraveled and surrendered so deeply that nothing was left. And at the same time, there was the deepest, most profound understanding of the pain that everyone carries. That pain was purposeful. The pain was to demonstrate God's compassion, God's understanding of how much it takes to heal and to accept healing. But there's another purpose of the teacher. The teacher holds the healing itself. Every teacher that is awakened has walked through every element of healing that anyone can go through and has come out the other side. And when you come out the other side, That is your offering, that everything can be healed. My teacher, Jose, told a story of his arrogance when he was in healing, that he was teaching his teacher about what he knew because he was an accomplished person. He told his teacher what he knew. And his teacher calmly sat and listened and realized that he would not receive healing and trust in that healing until he realized that he was there to follow, that he was there to learn, that he was there to be at the feet of his teacher and learn. Why did he have to be at the feet of his teacher? Because when you stand up and you tell your teacher what you know nothing and you receive nothing. When you're at the feet of your teacher, you enter into the truth of humility. And the humility is so essential because it is through humility that you enter into the light, that you are humble enough to give up what you think you know and to give yourself to learning. When your teacher assures you that you can be healed, that you can heal, and that this is the way, that is a place of such divine trust, because you're putting your faith in their healing. You're putting your faith in their gift of healing that they walk through. I didn't have to know the details of Jose's healing, how it occurred, what he had to see, what he had to squeeze through, what he had to throw up, his arrogance, because he had to just release and surrender every moment. It was obvious in his alignment with his love that was firm, that it didn't play games. He didn't play games. And there was no way to take that beloved teacher and make him one of the guys. He couldn't be one of the guys. Not that he was separate, not that he wasn't offering love in every moment, but he couldn't be brought back into an ego identity to make others feel comfortable. But the most important element is that in the healing journey, the teacher shows that it can be done, that this is real, that this is the reality of what you came for into this earth plane. It isn't about exalting. It's about the recognition that if this beloved can walk through the fire, so can you. And you can do it with more faith and more trust because they went through it first. I have joked about, not really joking, but because it's the truth. At some point after awakening, every beloved that was sent to me, I had walked the same healing that they were up against. It became almost like a joke. How many things could I have walked through? And yet, I walked through every one of them. And the purpose of that was shown that nobody would be sent to me that I hadn't walked what they walked and lived what they lived and healed what they were ready to heal. You have to put the faith in the master, the teacher that is sent to you because they were sent to you. Doesn't matter who it is. And it's no different than whatever teachings are being used, that you have to accept it, the teaching, at its depth, that you want to imbibe every morsel of what the teaching has to offer. I know the way you get when you have not had a drink of love really speaks to that, because when you are on your own in the ego identity of believing what you see, believing what you experience, believing your identity, that's how you get when you haven't had a drink of love. It's that simple. Correction is a very sensitive element within healing. There is no correction in the world that works. But when a beloved has been called to serve as a teacher in an awakened state, the correction is the gift that says, where are you going? Why are you taking this road that is more difficult than it needs to be? The teacher will always show you the way that will get you there the quickest and what is right for you. It's not easy to invite the correction, but every teacher has walked through that correction and has come out the other side. When Jose would come for a long visit, I would be in dread because I knew that I would be so corrected. That was the ego that was screaming, it scares me to be corrected. But every single correction, even in just his presence, was exactly what I had to walk through. He never apologized for correcting. It wasn't a place of apology at all. It was a gift. It was his love that was correcting so that I didn't have to suffer through the same things again and again and again in my ignorance. There is a belief in the spiritual life that spiritual communities should be much nicer and much more loving than the regular world. It may be the opposite. It may be the opposite because if the healing is actually occurring, there is an unraveling that is going on of the defense systems, of the facades, of the costumes that everybody wears, of the games that everybody plays, and they're starting to break apart, and they're starting to shed their niceties that are usually on the outside, and it becomes very sloppy. Healing is sloppy. Healing is not a cakewalk. It could be a cakewalk. It could be, except for the resistance, except for the strategies, except for the games, the manipulations, the figuring things out, the reactions, the old beliefs that you're not going to give unless you get, the old beliefs that you want others to act like you want them to act instead of what they're healing or what they're going through. So it can become very sloppy. That isn't the problem. It isn't a problem at all. It's the belief that it shouldn't be that way that is actually where the pain is. And where people, beloveds, drop into their old identities again and judge how others should behave. It's all fear. And every beloved walks through their fear, shedding it and shedding it and shedding it, because everything that you believed in your life was fear. It wasn't recognized as fear. It was recognized as strategies of success, of winning, of holding a certain style or holding a certain personality, or all the different things that we do in the insanity of our belief systems. And when the facade starts to fall apart, when it starts to crumble, it makes you want to run away, it makes you want to hide, because you don't want anybody to see what you've been hiding for all your life. And the insanity starts to come out in stronger expressions. And everybody can see that too. And that's part of the learning that it doesn't mean anything, that you're there for that purpose, to fall apart, to expose your heart, and be able to recognize that you don't know. What would it be like if every beloved could have a connection, a communion that would be able to say, I don't know. I don't know how to look at this. Have you ever heard that? That's a teaching. I don't know how to look at this. Have you uttered the words? Have you used the words? Have you said, I don't know? to another? Or is there too much pride that says, no, I'm going to keep my identity and pretend some more? A, a good teacher brings so much light to that it doesn't work anymore. It's actually a day of glory when someone can say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to look at this. And I don't know how to be with you because I'm learning a new way. That honesty is what is being called in the healing, whether it's to another in the same community or it's someone that you work with or you know or relative. Can you let your heart expose itself? Because that's what every teacher is saying. Open your heart. Open your heart and crumble from the inside. Let it all fall apart. When in your journey of remembering there is a squeeze, the squeeze is usually because there has been a resistance to that crumbling. And the squeeze often helps the crumbling. Don't see that squeeze as a punishment of any kind or a curse. I don't want to be squeezed. No, ask for the squeeze. Invite the squeeze. Be grateful for every layer that starts to peel away. And see it from the realization that every teacher has walked there first and is not asking anything of anyone that they have not walked. When you are in pain, when you are in turmoil, that can be the most significant healing place. Invite it. Don't curse it. Welcome it. Welcome the squeeze. Welcome the discomfort. The discomfort is just the ego wanting to have its control back. And the discomfort is like giving birth. Giving birth is the gift. And it's trusting that the birth will occur. It's not a journey of always dancing. It ends up always dancing. But in the journey itself is an inquiry. What a privilege it is, what an honor it is to be available for self-inquiry and to invite it and to question your own mind. To question your own mind is the grandeur of love. When you question your own mind and your own thoughts, it really, without judgment, it allows the grandeur of your love to be participating in your own healing. To not question your mind, to not question your thoughts is hateful. It's a self-hate. It's saying, shut up and just remember you're an ego. There's no love there. But when you question what your mind is making and what you believe with as much honesty as you possibly can come to, you are learning to love. It is a complete offering of love from your own heart. How do you learn to love yourself? By wanting your own healing, by wanting your own truth, not the truth you're making up, but the honesty of God's light. And that you won't settle, that you won't stop, that you won't let the ego have its way, that you won't come up with a strategy that you think is the way, rather than asking, how should this look? How help me in this healing? Help me to see what is necessary. There's a hymn that says, "Only for your love, dear mother, I ask for healing, because you know what is needed to be healed. Your love, mother, shows me what I need to heal, and you will heal what is necessary. I give myself to you." That surrender is self-love. That surrender is learning the truth of who you are. There's nothing admirable about, I know the answer. I know the way. I've decided. I figured this out. I looked at it. I figured it out. You've just wasted whatever time you put into that, because it's not possible. It's not possible to figure it out with your ego. And what's usually running is fear. And it's coming up with a compromise of some kind of good sounding idea. I don't know is the greatest gift. I don't know how, but I have all the help that I could possibly need, because all of heaven is here to help me. Through every master, through every teacher, through every guide, through every teaching that is written, you have everything. And every moment of every day is an opportunity of learning. Are you learning, or are you putting it into a box that you have already known and you think that that's going to be the solver? No. Every day is a day of learning. Every time you go to sleep, it's a time of learning. What did you learn even while you slept? Because it was one of my favorite prayers that in the respite of sleep, because every day was a day of learning, then the respite of sleep was, heal me while I sleep. Heal me while I sleep. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the healing needs to be, but put yourself into the hands of God, as I did, and say, heal me as I sleep. Trusting so deeply that the power of God is the healer and is transformation in every moment. Every poem that Hafiz has put on paper was his declaration of his love. His teacher was his greatest love. His teacher was his most intimate relationship, because his teacher gave him life, opened the doors, told him he looked like a pregnant woman until he retaliated and learned the lesson that was there. He trusted his teacher because he wanted to come home. Recognize your resistances and deny them. They are not your friends. They are the pain and the suffering that have developed within you to say, I am separate and I am alone. And none of it is true. None of it is true. It's not an easy realization that there is nothing in the world that is going to bring you to reality. That there is nothing that you can get from the outside that is going to satisfy your heart or open your heart. But that if you give your life to spirit, to learning, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of love, will use every day within the world for transformation, for your learning. And then, for the first time, the world becomes useful. It becomes part of the holiness because it is being used only for love, only for your love. I know the way that you get when you have not had a drink of love. Learning to change your mind about your mind. And focusing your attention on opening your heart until you're having a prayer, a communication with God every day, every night, saying, I just want to learn to love. Teach me to love. It's the only thing that there is. Teach me to love, please. And you're asking, your begging actually becomes a doorway to breaking your heart open. Because you just can't stand it anymore. You want love. You want to remember love, and you want to be free of the pain and the suffering that you made on yourself through the self-hatred that everyone has carried. It isn't easy to let go of all the hate because it seems and it disguises itself as the knower. But love doesn't prove anything, doesn't need to prove anything, doesn't fight with anything, doesn't react to anything, doesn't battle with anything, doesn't worry about anything. Nobody who lives in this world can imagine that they could live without worry, without concern, without pain and suffering. But that is what the healing is, to be free of all beliefs of battle, struggle, competition, winning, scarcity, all of it that's been made up. Embrace the honesty to follow the teachers and the teachings that have been given to you, and just allow that if they can heal, you can heal. If they have walked through the fire, follow. The way has been paved for every beloved, and the teacher is there for every beloved, because only love can heal. And you are so loved that you are given everything that you could possibly need to remember if you are willing to follow. I know the way you get when you have had not a drink of love. It's time to drink all the love and to accept it and to follow.